Hello. Oh my gosh. It's nice to see you guys. I spoke to someone earlier who said they hadn't had the notification about the call. So I was really concerned that there'll be nobody here. But thank goodness there are people here. That's awesome. Hi, Susie. Hi, Hannah. Susie, you're so fit. Like this picture and then just singing. How'd you get so fit? Do you work out at the gym?
Hello. Okay, can you see me?
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
What this morning? Okay.
Susie, you do you work out, darling?
I do. Yes.
You totally look like you work out. Just saying, your hard work has paid off.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate that. That's wonderful.
You're very welcome. Just notice these things, you know, got to say something.
How's your baby?
She's fine. Do you know, I thought about, like, I have somebody who helps me at home when I do calls, on the days that I do calls. And I thought to myself, do I bring the baby? And then I thought, maybe not. I don't know. But the baby's fine. She's 1 month in a couple of days. I was just saying to some clients earlier on my consultation calls, my coaching calls, like, I can't believe it's been a month already. It's like insane. Where did that go? Because it literally feels like yesterday. Anyway, the interesting thing is, I don't know if we've got a couple more people coming on, but there are people who miss the email. I know that, sure. But I was saying, like, how interesting it is, like, the call last month was on the day it was on the day that it was born, and that wasn't planned. I always thought to myself, it's fine booking this call in, because as long as she comes like a couple of days before or a couple of days after, it's just going to be fine. I'll still be able to do the call. And then I was saying to Susan earlier that I got to the point where I was being induced on the 27th, which was completely unexpected. I went into the doctor's just on a routine appointment, you know, because she was like 5 days overdue by then. And they just kind of like check you out. And I went in and everything was fine. And he was saying, I'll check the baby. And the baby looked fine. And then he was looking at the placenta and he was going back and back and forth. And then he said, like, I'm really not happy about this. And I'm like, what are you not happy about? Like, the baby's fine, right? And he's like, yeah, the baby's fine. But the placenta, the blood flow is like it's not smooth. It's not flowing like smoothly. And I was like, okay, well, what does that mean? And he said, well, you got two choices. He said, you can wait till Saturday. And I think that was Tuesday. And he said, you wait till Saturday and see what happens, but it's a risk. He said, but what I want to do is just take you in right now and induce you and have this baby. And I'm like, what, right now? Like, and he's like, yeah, now. I'm like, right now. This is like, can I go home and get a bag first? I don't know, like, change your clothes. I was like, literally, I just got the shopping. Like, I was going to go home and cook dinner and everything. Yeah, so he said, okay, yeah, sure, go home and then come back again. So literally within an hour from that appointment, I was thinking I was going to go home and cook dinner and chillax for the evening. And it turned out, no, I'm going directly back into town and I'm going to go and have this baby. So that was basically what happened. And I was thinking to myself, like, I'm really not pro induction or any kind of interference with having a baby. So I don't know, sorry about this call. It's just kind of gone into having babies, but you know, all friends here. So yeah, so I was completely like against it, and I was humming and hawing on the way home, talking to my husband, and just basically saying, like, I think that if I wait until Saturday, there's a chance that I could end up going in maybe on an emergency and having a C-section, which I didn't want. So I thought to myself, okay, I'll choose induction. And all my kids, like my first two kids, came on the day I was supposed to be being induced, like 2 weeks post due date. And I always thought to myself that all my kids would come like that, but you know, it doesn't always happen that way. So I thought to myself, it's better to go in and be induced than to go in and potentially, face surgery a few days later. So I literally went in, I arrived at the hospital at 11 p.m. on the 27th, and they started the induction then, and it was horrific. It was like it was not like normal labor. Like normal labor, you have this massive my shortest labor was 15 hours. And I went in, I got induced at 11, and the baby was born at 4 a.m. The next morning, which was the 28th. And then I was literally saying, Megan says she would have had the 23rd. Megan's baby was born on the 23rd, which was planned and scheduled, and my due date was the 23rd, which was like really weird. And I was honestly, I was rooting for the 23rd, like, come on. Come on, due date, like, just so we could have, like, twinsies kind of. But it didn't work out that way anyway. Yeah, so I went in on the 27th at 11 p.m. The baby was born at 4 a.m. on the 28th. And then I was asking the doctor, like, immediately, like, when can I check out? And then it was like 8:30 a.m. that day. And I thought to myself, oh God, so I'm checking out on the 28th in the morning. And I said this to Susan earlier. And then I was like thinking to myself, maybe we don't have to cancel this call. Like, maybe I could literally meet the monthly call on the 28th. Because I was like, oh, it's at 5:30 and I'm checking out in the morning. So, and then everyone literally told me no. And I was going to have my computer confiscated if I decided to go ahead with the monthly call that month. Anyway, so really, unfortunately, we had so many people sign up for that call because of the consulting update that we were doing, or I had done, and that didn't work out. So I figured we'll just postpone it and do the consulting update on this call, which we're doing now. So we're kind of merging April and May calls. I really wanted to do something, but it just turned out that having a baby, is quite a task, and you can't just turn up for a call on that day. Which is insane to me, really, but that's how it was. And I did, in the end, I got to 5:30 on the day I had the baby, and I was thinking to myself, actually, it's probably quite a good thing we did cancel the call. So it turned out, just for everyone who's watching this replay, who's wondering where the April replay is, it's not. It's gone. That's been and done. And there won't be an April replay because I literally had a baby that morning unexpectedly. So we're over that now, over that bridge, and we're into May, and lots of things happened this month. I turned 40, which was, horrendous. But yeah, I'm 40 now. And I should be, feeling, I was talking to Hannah earlier, I'm feeling like I've got it all figured out, which I don't, sadly. But you approach 40 and you think by 40 I'll have so much figured out and done, and my life will be totally smooth, and here I am just with a newborn baby and having craziness, and my dog's barking, which I also spoke to Hannah about earlier as well. So I turned 40, had a baby, all of that good stuff. And I'm here. I did manage to get some work done last month, despite the pregnancy and all that. And we've got a consulting update. So I've had, actually last month was a really good month on consulting. I won't deny it. I don't know, I was on fire. I think it was like that last moment when you figure, like, I'm gonna have to take some downtime and I'm just gonna go super crazy on something. And that was consulting. So I had a really good run on consulting, and then I added something because I was doing so many. I added something to my consulting program, which was a byproduct of the consulting that I was doing, because I really wanted to secure some more business. I wanted to secure one more one-sourcing client for when I came back after my day's maternity leave. And and then basically that turned into like I was going to do as many consultations as I could to try and secure some business, which I did, which was great. And then that resulted in adding something to the consulting program. So if you're in the one sourcing programs, then you will have access to the one sourcing consultant, which has just had an update, which I took live yesterday. And I wanted to kind of share that with you guys and walk you guys through that, because like to me, consulting is the ultimate destination for any virtual assistant. If you are doing any kind of virtual assistance, you have a skill and you're skilled at it, eventually you want to be able to consult on it, because consulting is kind of what people do for free when they don't even know it. Like a lot of people say, well, I'm not a consultant, haven't done any formal consulting qualifications. Well, hi, neither have I. I don't have, I didn't go to consulting school and then suddenly become a consultant. No, consulting comes from experience. It comes from work. It comes from dedication to your craft. It comes from so many things, but it does not come from going to consulting school and getting a consulting qualification. Susan finds that very amusing for some reason. I don't know why, but this is God's honest truth about it, and for me, it's like as soon as I knew I had something of value to offer somebody else, as soon as I knew there's stuff that I know that other people don't know, then I knew that I had to go into consulting. Okay, so it's like you move past that stage where you're providing services as a VA or whatever you want to call yourself, and you do so many services where you get to the point where you can actually tell people what they need to be doing. When you start to get into that zone where you're not being told, this is what I need from you and this is what you've got to do, once you start moving out of that, and then you're realizing, I know enough now to tell you what you need or what we need to do or how we need to work together or what systems that you need or what procedures you need, tasks. As soon as you're in that zone, then you're already crossing the consultant barrier. You've already gone past it. You've gone over the borderline into consulting without even really knowing it. And then the next phase is when you start to share this information with people, and then you start to feel a little bit resistant to it, like, oh my God, like I've just spent an hour telling you what to do, which has changed your life, and I've not got paid for it. And then you start to realize at that point, okay, now I need to be a consultant. So if you're at that stage of your business, the consultant is perfect for you, because it takes you through that step-by-step process of just knowing, like, I've got a lot to offer here, but I just don't quite know which direction I take it from here. Like, how do I then present this as a consultant or as a consulting service? And that's when the one sourcing consultant can help you. So the one sourcing consultant is not something new. It's been out for a couple of years now. It's a very kind of simple strategy for putting together a consulting package in your business and starting to use what you've already got and what you've already learned and what you already have in order to present that in a way that you can actually earn an income from it. And then for me, I quickly started doing consulting. And then basically I thought to myself, when I started consulting, or maybe I'll just double my normal hourly rate or my normal admin rate, and then I'll call myself a consultant. That's how I started, not suggesting that's how you start. But that's where it began for me. I think I was charging £25 at the time per hour for my services, and then I thought to myself, okay, well, I'll just double that to £50 an hour, and then I'll start consulting, and I'll call that my consulting rate. And I put that out there, and surprisingly enough, people wanted to pay me £50 an hour to get my advice. And then I thought to myself, God, well, I should be doing more than this right now. Like, how else can I benefit from this? If, it was so easy to doubled my income technically, going from £25 to £50 an hour, just calling it consulting, when before I was actually doing it for free because I was telling people all this information in order to get them to hire my services. And I wasn't charging for it. So that was like revolution, you know, the waves parted, or the clouds parted, and the sun started shining through. And then I was like, what else can I do? And that's when I started to put together One Sourcing, and I created the consultant role within One Sourcing. And then that became a paid, like a proper paid service. And when I say proper paid service, I don't mean like real money instead of monopoly money. I mean a proper paid service, because it was the core service of the whole business. A lot of people think it's the services that you provide, maybe it's the ongoing support that you provide, the customer service, the email management, the calendar management, the social media, whatever. No, but consulting became like the backbone of my business, because it was really important for me that every client that I worked with, every One Sourcing client, went through my consultation process for several reasons. One, because I was able to pre-qualify people a lot better, which meant I had more sustainable clients. Clients weren't dropping in and coming off, and coming in for one project and then leaving, or coming in and starting and then, you know, disappearing after a month or something like that. I had proper, sustainable, ongoing clients. First of all, when I introduced One Sourcing, but when I introduced the consulting process, because I knew that the people who went through my consulting process were the people that committed to working with me. You know, if they're willing to pay for my advice, they're absolutely going to be willing for me to pay me to implement. And that's what I found consistently was the case. When I just went in on the service side of things, you know, and I was very task oriented, and I was telling people a lot about what I could do, then it didn't result always in long-term sustainable customers. They just wanted tasks done, or wanted a job done, or wanted a project done, and then they wanted to call it a day. When someone invested in the consulting, it then led on to the upsell of the service packages, which then led on to the sustainable long-term investment of the business, because I'd created a plan for them. And when I create a plan for someone, you know, usually most of the time people want to implement that plan with the person that has created it, because they're the brains behind it. They're the ones that's come up with the ideas and come up with the strategies and things like that. And then they're kind of like fully on board and invested into, okay, well, let's just carry on. Let's just start as we mean to go on. So that's where consulting became really valuable for me. And it's where I kind of put my focus on my marketing more on the consulting than I did in any other area of my business, more on, you know, more so than the tasks and selling the packages and things like that, because it just became a way for me to secure really good, long-term, high-paying, sustainable clients. So I've basically put together the consulting process, which starts with the application, which is the questions that you are asking the client to respond to you with, to kind of pre-qualify them in a way to get them ready and prepared to work with you, or to see if they're ready and prepared to work with you. And if they're not, then it's a good way to sort of kind of like either recommend them to someone else, or suggest that they come back at a later date, or that they're not quite ready for everything you have to offer. So when I'm consulting with people, I don't just look at people who could potentially be One Sourcing clients. I look at people who could just really benefit from having a really good, solid plan in place, because it's all about the plan. So then it goes from the application process to the connection call, which is usually a free call I do with someone, just to again talk to them about the answers to their questions and get more information and dig a bit further and dig a bit deeper, but also at the same time see if we have some sort of level of connection. Do we have any kind of rapport? Do we have anything in common? You know, like when sometimes you talk to people and sometimes you feel a resistance to, like, this doesn't feel right and I don't really want to talk to this person anymore, or you know that you wouldn't even want to work with that person any further. So it's just a good way to kind of like use that call as a way again to say, okay, well, we might not be a good fit for each other, but maybe you can go here, or I know someone. And that's why networking is so important as well, to make sure you build up lots of contacts and connections. So when you come across the people that you can't work with, you can then do someone else a solid and potentially pass that person on to somebody else, which is really, really super important. Because I always believe what goes around comes around, you know, and if I say to someone, well, I'm not a good fit for you, but this person might be over there, I just know that there's another referral or something waiting at the door, waiting to come into me. So that's why it's really super important. Megan says, I had to get back at it now that we have Podia and BC was a foundation of my consulting. Yeah. So a lot of people, because of the program, the way One Sourcing was structured, Business Catalyst is what the system that I used before, was the basis of the whole operations management business. But we've now moved into Podia. Megan's also moved into Podia as well. So that's kind of like, once a system says they're shutting down and everything's going to end, you kind of like, you go on ice basically, because you don't know where you go from there. So it has been a long break after the BC stuff, which, you know, has been okay. But that was a really good point. So there's the application process, the connection call. Then at the connection call, you decide if you want to go ahead with the proposal. So at this point, after I've spoken to someone, usually I would send them a proposal for what I would like to do with them. And again, all the templates for this are inside the consultant program. And then what would happen from there is you would go directly into the plan and then the delivery of the plan. But I have added that last month, I've improved, I think I've heavily improved it and added an extra step into the consulting process. So what I used to do is I used to go from the connection call where I'd gather all the information, and then I would go straight into, do you want to work with me? If yes, here's the invoice, pay the fee, and we'll get going. And that worked, by the way. That is still solid. That plan works. But I added something else for multiple reasons. One, because I felt it was really good for me and time saving for me to be able to implement this extra step. And it was also very good for the client because it was able to gain a lot more trust before you go into the plan stage. So what I've done is added in, or it's called, there's a section now inside the consultant program. Let me see if I can screen share with you so you can just see this. So can you guys see my screen? Yep. Okay. So here we have like module 1, module 2, module 3, 4, and 5. These are all the same. These are all the standard ones that were in there before, but then there is now a module 6 called adding value. So when you go to this adding value one, what it is it's an optional extra to the consulting, which I would strongly advise you include. And what we do with this is you add in what we call a pre-plan. So what I do is I have the connection call with the customer or the client, and I gather all the information and I get as much as I can from that experience and that call. And then what I will do is I will go away and I will bullet point out everything that I want to include in the plan. And it's literally that. It's literally just some bullet points. And I break it down still into the 3 categories. Like for me, the categories are operations planning, income strategy, and support team. So I still break it down into those categories, but I also break it down a little bit further into workflows, into processes. I'll show you on the pre-plan template here. So we go into reviews, So a review is like when I say to a client, okay, I'm going to review your website. I'm going to review your funnel. I'm going to review your sales pages. I'm going to review your opt-in. So I include a list of all the things that I'm going to do a review on. Then I will include a list of all the things that I'm going to create a workflow for. So a workflow is just a chain of events that occur for a particular task or a particular kind of thing that you want to occur. So I will break it down into reviews and workflows and then processes. And then processes are kind of like more detailed, like this is how it's going to work if you've got like a project or a one-off thing. So for me, workflows are about recurring tasks. They're about, you know, and again, you can name these whatever you want. You don't have to name them what I've named them. But a workflow is a recurring task that occurs on a regular basis, like bringing a new client in or working with a particular client or doing some kind of task within the business. And then a process is something that occurs like as a one-off thing in order to make something else happen. So that's kind of how I define them. Then there's just a general framework. And a general framework is something I define as, I'm going to give you the sort of steps that are involved, but I'm not going to fill in the details for you. And then that will be a project for another date. So when I put together a framework on a plan, then for me, that's more like, this is one project. This is how that project would come together. And I'm outlining that for you, but I'm not going into detail. And then if you want to do that project, then we can discuss the framework in more detail on another call. I can quote you separately for it, whatever that looks like. And then finally, there's a strategy. And then the strategy is more centered around social media marketing or any kind of marketing, anything that requires like a strategy in place where certain steps happen where you want to achieve a certain result in the end. So that's what I use to basically share with the customer or share with the client, like what I'm going to put in the plan. So this pre-plan comes before I make the plan. And then I add another call in, which that call takes them through the pre-plan and they agree, yes, this is what I expect from you. This is what I am expecting, no more, no less. And for me, that was a really big breakthrough because sometimes I got to the point where I put together the whole plan, you know, and I would give it back to the client and then they would be a little bit like a rabbit in the headlights because suddenly they'd gone from a connection call to like a 30-40 page business plan. And then they were like, whoa, like this is a lot to take in. And then my calls, like my plan walkthrough calls ended up sometimes going into 2 hours, or I would have to do another follow-up call after that to try and explain things to people. But when I added this pre-plan stage in, it really changed everything because people were able to see exactly what they were going to get before they got it. So I would always make sure that people have paid me at the pre-plan stage. You don't just give it to people. It's always part of the paid process after the connection call, after they've agreed and they've got the proposal. But you basically add in the pre-plan to the proposal. And then what happens is they get the proposal, they pay for the service, the consulting service, and then I decide everything that I'm going to put in the plan, all the workflows, all the reviews, all the processes, the frameworks and the strategies that I'm going to include in the plan. And I literally just list them out and say, right, we're going to create a workflow for handling your bookings. We're going to create a workflow for onboarding clients. We're going to create a workflow for this and this and this. And then I list out everything, all the reviews, all the things. I'm going to review your website. I'm going to review your sales funnel for this. I'm going to review your lead magnet. And then what I tend to do on the review process is do little videos, just taking people through their websites and things and putting a link to the video in the plan. So, and then again, I'm going to create a process for this project and this project and this project. And then I'm going to create a framework for that project and that project. So like, for example, let's say I'm working with a client and they only providing, for example, coaching services, and they want to include a passive income element into their business. And for me, that looks like creating a digital product. So what I will do is I will do a framework for a digital product and basically say, here are my ideas. This is what I think you should do. And this is generally how it would come together. But the framework would then be a separate paid service, which you include in obviously the costs and things like that in the end. So I basically do this bullet point list and I send the client the pre-plan, and then I do a call with the client, and then I say, okay, this is exactly what you're going to get. These reviews, these workflows, these processes, these strategies, these frameworks. And that I get the client to agree on the call. And obviously it's a recorded call as well, because I do all the calls on Zoom. So at that point, it was like really a eureka moment, because the client knows exactly what they're going to be getting. They have not only know exactly what they're going to be getting, they have also agreed to what they're going to be getting. And it's no more and no less. So rather than kind of throw out them this plan where I've just taken a load of information, just sent it back to them in this 30-40 page format, they're actually kind of, we're gently easing them into the plan. And by doing that as well, they're also getting excited about seeing what's to come and seeing what kind of value that they've invested in. And they also get a chance to be a little bit more in control of the plan as well, because it's not just me saying I'm the consultant and I'm coming back to you and this is what you're going to get. It's also me saying, is there anything missing from this? Is there anything you want to see? Is there anything that you think is required or is needed that I haven't included? And that, again, that little bit of control that you're giving back to the client is a big bonus in terms of being able to take it through to the next stage and the next stage, and move it through the process. So this has a lot of really good points about it, because you're able to just pre-plan, not just pre-qualify, but you're able to actually put it through the steps. So with this new module, the adding value module, there is a video. So it's just like the other modules. There is also a presentation involved, which is part of the video. So you'll be able to go through and check that out as well. So in the adding value session, I'm happy to share with you, we do why include the added value. So all the reasons why it's important to include it, how to adjust the proposal, which is an important thing. So if you're using the process and you want to add the pre-planning, I didn't want to change the whole concept, so you had to add the pre-planning. I wanted it to be something that you could adjust to add it if you felt that was good for you. Then we look at the pre-plan call and the pre-plan document, which there is a template here, which I've added, which is my pre-plan template, which I use, which explains to people what's a review, what's a workflow, what's a process. And then we go through the planning stages and adding the information, the customized content there. Then there's a walkthrough call, the plan follow-up call, because that basically follows up on the final plan from the pre-plan. Once you've delivered the pre-plan, then you get the plan, and then you get the plan follow-up call. And then there's the final details call and the intranet build, which is optional. And this is one additional thing as well that I've added in, which has been a great upsell, which has been kind of like a surprise for people. But basically what I've been doing is I don't normally do an intranet build in a consulting process, but because it seems like a really good high value item to potentially include free. First of all, the intranet, for those of you who don't know what an intranet is, it's like an internal website that has information about the business included in it. So what I tend to do, and this is great because once people get the intranet build and once people get the intranet, they feel like they want to continue with you even further. So it's a great way to upsell the packages from there. So what I will do is I will build just a normal Google site, just like the normal intranet build. So if you've got access to the Entrepreneur, you'll know that we use Google Sites to build the intranet in. And then what I'll do is I'll just literally take the information that I've put together on the plan, the final plan, and I just create the website, create the sections within the website that are based on the plan and just copy and paste the information from the plan into the website. And that not only gives people a taste of what you could potentially do for them in terms of how efficient you are with creating the site, with putting the information in. You're actually performing a task for them as part of the consulting, which is kind of clever in a way, because you're showing and demonstrating your skills in terms of the tasks and not just your skills in terms of the consulting. So you're actually delivering them something tangible that they can use and something that they would potentially want to develop. So that's been really super important in the upselling of one sourcing packages. So I build an optional intranet, and that's also when I can say to people, you know, just because it's you and because I like you and I would like to potentially work with you, I will include the intranet build complimentary at this stage. And what I will do is I will transfer the information from the plan into an intranet that you can use for your business. And whether you want to get your VA to add in the details from there, or whether you want to hire my packages and my one sourcing packages to be able to complete that for you as well, it's entirely up to you. And that's been really good. That's added a lot of value. And you can put a value on your intranet build if you want. You can say, I normally charge £500 for an intranet build or £1,000 for an intranet build, but for you, I'm going to include this free. So it just adds a whole chunk of value. The pre-plan adds a value. The intranet build can potentially add value. And again, that's an optional thing. You don't have to go for it and have to do it. But it's something, if you really want to secure the business, adding value is always the way to do that. So if you look at a client and you think, I absolutely want to work with this client and I want to do the consulting for this client, then what you can do is at the proposal stage, you just slot in there that, you know, if you go ahead with this, and I will also include an intranet build which has a value of £1,000 or £500 or something like that. And I say I'm going to include that for you, and it's just populating your planned content into an intranet or a company website for you. So that's very appealing to people as well. So that's the additional module. It adds additional calls to the process, which are fine. I always think calls are a really good way to add value, because a lot of people want to see you, want to speak to you. Obviously, if it's virtual, that's the same thing, like they'll see you on the screen or whatever. And you get a chance to build a lot more trust with that person through the calls, which then can lead to higher conversions when it comes to actually selling the package of services at the end. And again, this is a paid service, a consulting, so it's not like you're investing into doing all this work for nothing, particularly the intranet build at the end. It has been a really good investment of my time to put the intranet together for the client and have them super happy and wanting to work with me. And also, I would say another part of the consultation process is, again, and I keep reiterating this, but I can't say it enough, is to always be impartial. Never make the client feel like they're trapped into working with you because you've created their plan and you've done their strategy, and because now you've done that, then it's, you know, they have to work with you to be able to implement everything. As you know, it's really super important to say, like, I'm going to give you options here, you're in control, it's your choice, it's your decision what you want to do with your business, but I'm here to support you if you need me, and this is what it looks like if you do. But if you don't, that's no problem. Also, something that you guys might be interested in, so that's the consulting add-on. So that's in module 6, adding value, and then there is also now a brand new template in there called the pre-plan template, which is what you send out before the plan. So it should still be a fairly uniform process. But something I've also added, which also came out of my consulting this last month, was people wanted the opportunity to work with me without, like, they were always asking me, like, do I have to continue with you, and how do I still get your support if I decide that I don't want to use your services? And I wanted to be able to provide something to those people that would potentially support and help them with these questions. Because before it was almost like, you know, you have to use my services, otherwise we're done, but you can take the plan away and do whatever you want with it. So what I just did is I've added an additional service to my one sourcing services. If you haven't seen it, guys, yet, we've added the pledge onto the page. This is all the new stuff coming through from the brand licensing that we launched last month. But I've added another package. It's called the One Sourcing Partner, or Manage Your Business package. And basically, again, I wanted to add value to my other packages as well at the same time. So I'm all about, I really hate that phrase, killing two birds with one stone, but I don't know any other phrase that says it quite as well. But I wanted to add value to my main packages because they're not cheap. They start from £2,950 a month. So what I thought to myself as well is people just want sometimes to be able to talk to me, or if they do have their own teams or their own virtual assistants and they don't want to upset the apple cart there, they still want to be able to have access to me and my skills and my knowledge and my kind of like, because I created the plan, they want access to my thoughts, that type of thing. And they wanted to be able to do that, but without sometimes taking the one sourcing package. So what I've done is I've added something that is just me. And this is the One Sourcing Partner package. So basically, I created roles for myself in true one sourcing form. So the one sourcing package roles are very much skills-oriented roles, you know, task-oriented roles, personal assistant, customer support, graphic designer. But I created a set of roles for myself, and I figured to myself, well, why not? If I can make some income every month just from talking to people more, then I'm happy to do that. So I added a package which was just working with me, and it's £500 a month and they get one call a week with me. And if I've created a plan for them or I've done something for them which they want to then go away and implement with their own team or implement with people outside of my fold of Virtual Miss Friday, then I still wanted to be there to support them in some way. So this package is £500 a month, and they can use me as a business coach or an online business manager if they want help with managing their team, a strategist if they want help with strategies, a consultant in terms of recruitment, helping and guiding, advising on who to hire. You know, I'm not doing it for them, but I'm giving them advice. An accountability partner. This is another big request that I've had this last month. It's like how I need someone to keep me accountable. Like I just need someone on my case to tell me, are you doing this? Are you doing this? You know, in terms of implementing the plan. So again, I include accountability partner as one of those roles. I included operations manager, but this again, this is just advice. This is just expertise that I'm sharing with the client. Project manager and team manager. So if anyone says to me, I want to go away and implement this on my own, but I still need your help, then this package is designed for them. So it's been a great package to implement. And already I had like 2 people reserve me on this package. Reserve me as in I'll wait for the plan, but you have to tell me if somebody books you and I lose my space, because I will start earlier, which is really interesting for me. Again, it's like I just came up with this £500 package, which is a call a week with me. And it's to help the client implement the consulting package or the consulting plan that I've just made for them. They've paid me for, but sometimes people don't always want to work with you, or maybe my prices for what I'm quoting them to implement everything aren't quite on par with what they want to pay, but they still would like access to me. So another part of this whole process that came out is this particular package, which has been popular. And like I say, 2 people before we actually implemented the plan, did the plan, said, I really want to be able to get this package, and put me on like the list. And if anyone does take it before you do the plan and we go through everything and I need your help at that stage, then just let me know, because I want that slot, which is great. So, and that's led to conversions as well. So I'm really super happy with these updates to this consulting plan or this consulting course, because I think it's just added on some of the elements that I think may have been missing for some people in their consulting, or missing for some of their clients or some of their potential clients. So that's pretty much the updates on the consulting. So if you've got access to that right now, you can go into the One Sourcing Consultant program in your dashboard, and you'll be able to get access to that. That also comes with the template and all the other bits and pieces. I'm going to answer some questions, but also while I'm here, I'm just going to put a link, because we are going to put the consultant on offer for the next few days, just as a way to sort of launch this update. So if you don't have access to the consultant, I will put the link in for you now, so you can go ahead and purchase that. One second. I hate it when people say 1 second, because it is never 1 second, is it? That would be impossible. So apologies, I lied to you. And I had it on my thing, and I've got, there we go. Got so many windows open, I couldn't find it. Okay. Megan says, I say that all the time. I say it to my kids as well, and they're like, it's never a second, mummy. You're never 1 second. Or they go, one, now can I have it? That's so smart. Okay. So Megan says, so to be clear, you do that after the connection call, but before the proposal. No, the pre-plan, you do the connection call where you gather all the information, then you do the proposal where you say, you want to get paid. Like, I'm going to do this, this, and this for you. And then you would include the pre-plan if you wanted to in the proposal, at the proposal stage. So if you wanted to add more value, if you wanted to add in those extra calls that they get, if you wanted to potentially add in the intranet that they could get for free, then you would add that in at the proposal stage, and they'll either agree to it or they won't agree. If they agree, they pay you, and then you deliver the pre-plan before the plan. Does that make sense? So it goes proposal, pre-plan, plan. Okay. Maybe I need to watch the video. Okay, yeah, definitely watch the video, because I think it will be more clear. Okay, Hannah was back in 5, but it looks like she's back. Are you limiting how many people can sign up for that service? No. Actually, are you talking about the One Sourcing Partner service? Yeah. Yes, there's a limit to that, because there's a limit to my time. So I have a certain number of people I can work with. Sometimes people will come on and just want me for that period of time where it takes to implement the plan. So it might be 2 or 3 months, or it might be 6 months. And some people might want it ongoing. Particularly, also somebody asked me about coaching as well at the same time as consulting. So they were like, well, what if I want to do coaching and consulting? Do I have to pay for them separately and things like that? And then that was another reason why I created that plan. So if people want to use me as a coach capacity, that's fine. You can tell me on the call, like, this is what I want to talk about. If people want me as a consultant, or they want me to do some work with them on hiring, recruitment, or delegating to the team, or if someone's taking too long and they want advice on how to handle that, whatever that is, I'm there for them on that weekly call to be able to guide and advise them to be able to do it for themselves. So there is obviously a limit, because I'm committing to an hour a week call with them, and I've only got so many call slots available. So there would need to be, yeah. Okay. So that's all the questions. And just final 10 minutes, if you've got any more questions for me, post them in here. But I just wanted to say, like, a final 10-minute thing. I've spoken to a couple of people in my essential coaching and marketing suite, the people I do the one-on-one calls with every month. And I thought it would be really cool on these calls is to sometimes have slots where we kind of like pick a topic and then we bring in an expert. of somebody from the Essential Coaching Marketing Suite who is able to sit there and discuss about that particular topic. Because sometimes we have some really good discussions one-on-one, and I think, damn, like I would really love to be able to share what we just talked about with, you know, people on the monthly call and things like that. So what I'm thinking about doing is, for the people on the Essential Coaching Marketing Suite, is bringing those people in. We've got a couple of them here right now. Is bringing those people in so we can like book people in and say, okay, this month we're going to have Hannah talking to us about this topic, and we're going to open the discussion about this topic, and then we're just going to sit and have a natter and things. So that's something that I would like to introduce to these calls. If that made any sense to you guys and you think it's a good idea, do please let me know, either in the chat right now if you're on the call, or just write to me if you're watching the replay and just say, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So what it will be, it will be for the people who are on the Essential Coaching and Marketing Suite, the people that I tend to have these really cool conversations with, or I'm lucky enough to have these conversations with every month on these calls. And then basically I might say to someone, and that would be a really good topic for the next call, or the call in a couple of months' time. So we'll kind of bring that person in, and then we'll open the discussion up to everybody. I've had so many great discussions this week since I've been back, you know, on my proper sort of full-on schedule. And I've really missed the discussions, and I've missed the calls over the last few weeks. So for me, it's like, we need to be sharing this stuff. Like, we need to be opening this up, and we're having some great topics of discussion. We're making some great points on the call. We're coming up with some really good ideas. And I think those are the conversations that we also need to be incorporating into these calls as well, with the groups and on replays and things. So Susan says, it'd be great to hear from others who do have knowledge that I don't. And that's so true. It's always good to hear from other people who know things that you don't know, or want to share some insight or some input on, you know, things that they know that you need help on, and you need things like that. So that's my plan. That's something I would really like to introduce. And obviously it's something that we'll promote on the monthly calls, because they're still open because of COVID. I opened these monthly calls because of COVID, and then I think to myself, they're never going to end. Because I don't know if COVID's going to end ever, but I don't care, that's fine. And there's also, just to give you a little update, that's one idea I had, and providing nobody objects, I think that's going to be a great thing to implement from next month on these calls. Megan says she agrees, that's great. But also there's going to be some other updates coming to one sourcing soon as well. So we had all the brand stuff happening last month, and now we're going to start incorporating some more one sourcing training, which I'm really super excited about. And again, it's just on demand stuff that people have asked me for, and people would really like to see. So if one person, I always say, if one person needs it, then there are going to be many others that do too. So I always like to incorporate things that I can. So that's coming up, which I'll share with you next month. But in the meantime, hope you have a great month ahead. If you've got any final questions, there's still a couple of minutes on the call left. I'd be happy to answer for you. Anything to do with one sourcing or your own business, anything you want to share about that, please feel free. That's been good. And I've not heard the baby crying the whole time I've been on this call. It's great. Megan has a new free product. Share, please. You have been pretty quiet. I don't think do I know about it? I don't. You tell me everything. What have you done?
Well, no. So I have a training on creating courses. That's a paid product, and then I had my profitable course topic guide, and I felt like there was a huge gap in between the two, the paid and like, just like, okay, I got a topic figured out, but now what? So I wanted to bridge that gap a little bit. So I created it's called Warp Speed Sales for Online Courses. And so it just kind of helps people get the ball rolling for themselves without a ton of detail. Cause in the course creation bootcamp, I go into a lot of detail about recording and creating and all that kind of stuff, but at least it gives a good framework for that. So that's my new thing. that I
That sounds
put out
awesome.
there. Yeah.
Do you have a link?
Yeah. 1 second. Oh, why does it?
Oh, I think she just took herself out of the room there. Do you have a link? Bye. I'm sure she'll be back. I hope she'll be back. There she is.
I don't know what happened.
It's
hang
like
on,
you
sorry.
got upset and you laughed.
No, I like went to click on something and then all of a sudden it was like this other thing showed up and I was like, wait a minute, whatever. It doesn't matter. It looked like I was trying to get into the meeting a second time, so I closed that out and then yeah, it didn't work.
Okay, no
So,
worries. So do you have
yeah, so let me get the link here. Okay. So there we go.
okay, cool. Warp speed sales for online courses. Warp.
Yeah. Like super fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that itself is like intriguing. The title. And it's
Yeah,
really
there's
cool. And you're giving this
there's
for free?
yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I feel like it's getting so dark here now. Sorry, we're doing a couple of minutes left. sorry, I'm a little bit dark.
But yeah, so there's 8 different parts, but you know, each video, they're not super long, but it gives enough detail to kind of get people started.
Cool.
But then if they want some additional, you know, support beyond that or more training beyond that, then there's the paid program.
Okay, cool. So if you're watching the replay of this, it's megandixononline.com/warp-speed-sales-for-online-courses. We'll also try and include that in the description. I'm gonna write myself a note right now. Okay, so Susie says, best way to share about roles versus per hour to clients. They always want it quantified. Susie, do you want to elaborate on that? Is it when you try and explain?
Yeah, so when I am explaining that I'm providing a service, right, and what that includes, they're always like, how many hours a day, right? There's always this thing, and then they are doing the math, right? Like, what does that come down per hour? So just, you know, I see how you have it represented on your website and things like that. I just can always use a little bit of help in clarifying what the difference is to them, or, you know.
Sure. So really, I mean, I've only got a couple of minutes before the end of the call. So I'm just going to go through like 2 core ways, like my go-to ways that I kind of explain this. The first one for me is like I sell the roles because I want the package, which is best for the client, and it's always about the benefit to the client, to be flexible. So let's say, for example, if I'm selling customer support and I also want it to be fixed so the client can stay on the same budget, they don't have any hidden extras, nothing that's gonna like come and bite them on the bum, like, oh, it took 20 hours this month instead of 10. So like when I explain it to them, I try to use analogies. So the first kind of analogy would be something like, okay, well, if I want to fix you on a budget for a certain price, okay, and I charge you by the hour. Let's say, for example, you have 20 support tickets a day that I'm doing, and I'm charging you by the hour, and maybe that's consistent, but next month you might have 40 support tickets a day if we're doing a launch or something like that. Obviously the cost is going to go up because the labor is going to go up, whereas with one sourcing that will not happen, because what I will do is I work to a budget. So within that budget, I will always ensure that no matter how many support tickets we're doing, whether it's 20 a day or 40 a day, because you're doing a launch that month, I will manage the budget so we can pull back on some other area, but still get everything done that I've committed to. And that's where you need to be really good and really in control with your consulting and with what you're doing, you know, when you commit to certain things for the client, because you want to be able to make sure that you always have a little bit of of wiggle room in every role to be able to shave off a little bit and add a little bit on sometimes. So basically we say to people, like, this is why we do it. So no matter what we do, we'll always get the job done, and we'll always manage to do it on a fixed budget. And if, you know, it's not like, obviously when you get something like a project that you want to add on, you have to add on you know, that as a project or something like that. But when you're just talking about the budget, the fixed monthly budget for doing, you know, a certain number of roles, it's your job as a consultant to look at the business, to see where the business is at, to kind of calculate, add contingencies in for yourself in order to make sure that, okay, well, if customer support is slammed this month, I'll be able to take a little bit off of graphic design. Maybe the next month we can get a little bit further ahead on the social media designs or something like that, so we can shave a little bit back the following month. It's all about budget management. So that's the first thing, and that's a big benefit to the client. Like, no matter what happens in your business, as long as it's something I've agreed to, it'll always come in on point on fixed cost. If people don't quite get that and you want something that talks a little bit less about money, like, and they just can't get their head around why you wouldn't charge by the hour, it's a little bit like, another analogy you can use is like going into a restaurant, okay, and you look at a meal and it's on the menu and it's got like salmon drizzled in lemon sauce with peas and asparagus, okay. You never say to the waiter, how much are the peas? How much is the asparagus? Or, you know, like, I want this meal, but I don't want the salmon on it. So can you take off some money because I don't want the salmon? You know, you never say that. You just pay for the meal because that's what the price it is. If you say to that guy, I don't want peas on my plate, they're not going to deduct anything off the cost because you've not got the peas. They're going to still charge you for the meal because that's what is on the menu. That's the price it is. That's the fixed amount of money it is. And that's what you have to pay. And if you're not happy about that, you can go and ask another restaurant to take the peas off for whatever amount of money it is that the peas cost. So when I tend, you know, you can use, that's just a restaurant analogy. You can use any analogy that's going to resonate with the client, or what you feel is going to resonate with the client, to just kind of like explain that a little bit better.
I think one thing that always comes in my mind is, and it goes back to actually when you had a blog post, which I was looking for the other day. I don't think you have it anymore, but it was at that time about people asking for your resume and how, like, you wouldn't go to a hairdresser and ask for their resume. So I say similarly, you tell the, you know, whoever's doing your hair, this is what I want, da 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 da. This is the price. You don't say, okay, well, how long am I going to be sitting in the chair? And like, you don't think of it that way. You just say, okay, the haircut's going to cost, you know, X, and you don't really, or you don't, so that's like psychologically.
Yeah, or you don't sit in the chair next to the person and say, well, their hair is longer than mine, so I want a cheaper price because my hair's shorter and there's less hair to cut. You know, you just don't do that. And it really works very similarly with the services, and kind of explaining to people that you're paying a fixed amount, a fixed price for a fixed service, and it's fixed, and that's what you're paying for.
And
perfect. Thank you.
Where do you live, Susie?
I live in Mexico, but I'm from California, and most of my clients are all in the US, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, that's good that you're not in the US then right now, because I've brought this up a few different times, but the other thing with like monthly fixed packages too, and not breaking it down by the hour, is this whole AB5 freelance, you know, gig worker issue, which I won't go into because I've talked about it on a lot of calls, but like to remind people, if you can, do the fixed monthly thing, because that helps you avoid a lot
rather than versus the hourly, right?
Yeah.
Then it's more like an employee. Got it. Yep. Okay, good. That's great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So that brings us to the end of this call, and thank you so much. And Susie, you know, like, that was a really good final question, because I do know I'm going to do some more bits and pieces on that. Maybe I can give people some more tools that they can use, or wording that they can use that might help people a bit more. So that will also come through, because it's something that I want to do generally with one sourcing and adding updates and things. So anytime you get some of these questions or some of these challenges that you're facing, do please email me and write into support@virtualmisfire.com. Let me know, because this is all really super helpful to me, and I love getting your questions and your feedback. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the call. Thank you so much, guys. It was so good to see you. My first call back. Love you guys so much. I'm very excited to be back in the wagon. I'm sure at some point you'll be seeing little Aya on one of these calls, but I kind of wanted to stay focused today. So she's not here, but for sure I'm sure you're going to get to see her. So thank you so much. Take care, guys, and I'll see you on the next call.